With all the talk about potential government shutdowns, I thought we would take a calm, practical look at how this really ripples into our everyday lives, because it does. And most importantly, what we can do right now to shore up our homes and our pantries. Hello, everyone, and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa, and we are all about pantry preparedness. And now, I don't know about you, but I feel like these shutdown announcements are happening more and more and more often. They pop up on the news. People get nervous for a minute, like literally a minute, and then nothing at all. Nothing at all. It's almost like we're getting desensitized to them. We're not paying attention anymore. Who cares? It's barely making. I remember when I first started hearing about these, they were constant, nonstop chatter. And now it's like, hey, they're talking about shutting down the government again. Okay, whatever. It just becomes background noise. And we start to think, you know what? They'll work it out, whatever. But here is the reality. Since 2016, we've had 4 funding gaps. 2 of them turned into full shutdowns. One of those, in 2019, dragged on for 35 days, the longest in U.S. history. And during that time, families missed paychecks, programs stalled, and shelves were cleared out. So if you're feeling like, here we go again, right? The truth is these shutdowns do affect us at home. They do. Paychecks can be delayed, benefits disrupted, and groceries harder to find. Today, we're going to break down what shutdowns really mean for us, what to stock in your house so that it stays steady throughout the storm if it occurs, no matter how long it takes the government to figure out what's going on. So just the facts, ma'am. Okay, we're just going to do the facts right now. So what a government shutdown really means. Funding gaps and shutdowns since 2016. January 18th, there was a 3-day shutdown, disputes over immigration and the budget. February 2018, brief overnight funding gap, no workdays were lost. December 2018 to January 2019, there was a 35-day shutdown, the longest in history. Paychecks delayed, programs were disrupted, even at that time of year. Yeah. March 2004, brief funding lapse resolved the same day. So the takeaway for this is that they aren't rare by any stretch. They are political standoffs that can really stall real services for real people. Now, essentials versus non-essentials. The essential services will keep running. Social Security, Medicare, mail, those will keep going. The non-essential agencies, programs, and support services can close or slow down. Why we will feel it? Well, federal workers are furloughed or working without pay, because we all love to work without pay, right? SNAP, WIC, and school lunch programs can be disrupted. Food inspections slow down, adding strain to the supply chains that are already strained. The ripple effect, uncertainty leads to panic buying. It always does. Let's think about toilet paper, right? Shelves empty fast. They empty really fast. So remember last fall when the children's cold medicine disappeared for a few weeks, right? A shutdown can have that same ripple effect. Everyone grabs what they can all at once, and that leaves a lot of people who really need it without. Now, for pantry staples, let's take a look at what to stock. Your proteins. Of course, I'm going to say protein. Okay, so your canned chicken, tuna, Spam, your freeze-dried meats, whatever. Why you need to look at proteins? Because, like I said, the USDA inspections may slow down. Trucking delays may happen, and meat will disappear fast. So you want to stock up if you can ahead of time, because they're threatening right now, beginning of October. You can stretch meals with less protein by turning them into casseroles or soups or stir fries, because the meat is not the main encore of the meal with that. It's just part of the ingredient. So definitely you can look at doing that. Now, dairy and milk alternatives can also be impacted. WIC disruptions equals shelves cleared of milk, just like that. So what we can do to prep is we can do shelf-stable cartons of milk, Powdered milk and evaporated milk. If you haven't got some of those in your preps, you should have them. I've been talking about them a lot. Also, you can freeze your shredded cheese and your butter. Doesn't everybody freeze their butter? I always freeze my butter. So definitely, that's another way to stock up on it, because that's dairy, just like the milk, okay? I vacuum seal my cheese and I put it in the fridge, or I put it in the freezer to really, really extend it. You can also shred it and freeze it. Add a little bit of cornstarch in there to keep it from being a horrible clumpy mess, right? It thaws beautifully for cooking, for casseroles, that kind of thing. Sauces, soups, not necessarily for creating slices. So if that's important to you, you got to look somewhere else. Now, carbs and grains are another thing, because they're cheap, they're filling, and they're the first thing people grab when budgets are tight, because they are a comfort food and they're filling. That's it right there. Buy it in bulk when you can, if you have someplace to store it, and if you can afford it, okay? Store it in airtight containers. Now, if you're looking to store it up for 30 years, then you want to get some oxygen absorbers, Mylar, buckets, that kind of thing. If you're looking to make it more of a working pantry where you're working on it, over the course of the year, then airtight containers is really all you need to worry about. And as always, cool, dark, and dry, okay? 25 pounds of rice is roughly 250 servings if you go by actual serving size, okay? That's some serious meal insurance. Serious meal insurance. Next is canned produce. SNAP disruptions. That's what you have to think about. So higher demand for affordable canned goods is going to hit if it's disrupted. You want to stock tomatoes, corn, beans, canned fruit, any of the canned stuff that you eat, fruits and vegetables, because it's super simple, it's easy, and it's affordable. Rule of thumb is 30 cans per person per month. So 30 cans of fruit, 30 cans of vegetable. That's a lot of cans. Frozen basics. You can supplement some of those with frozen basics. But why should I stock up on frozen basics? Because shutdowns don't stop storms. They never have. The government tries to control a lot of stuff, but they haven't figured that one out yet. Freezers empty quickly before bad weather. And October, they're talking about a potential shutdown at the beginning of October. So freeze your bread, some extra bread. Freeze some butter, shredded cheese, Cook beans and soups now and freeze them. Put them in portion, freezer containers. Or freeze them flat in freezer bags, just like you do your burger. They thaw beautifully and evenly that way. It's a great way to take up less space, be able to stack it literally to the rafters, yeah. Now, the next thing to look at as far as stocking up for, a potential shutdown, nothing surprises me anymore. You have to understand that. Paper products and consumables. Why do you want to do that? Toilet paper, paper towel, trash bags, that kind of thing. Panic items disappear fast. So if you don't have a stash already, you're going to want to get just a little bit. Don't go hog wild, get enough to get you through a couple of months. Prep a 1 to 2 month buffer, store in totes, keep it dry, keep it in the house away from mice and stuff, and you'll be fine. Over-the-counter medications, I talked about this the other day. FDA staffing slows and demand spikes. That equals shortages, and especially demand spikes this time of year. Prep by getting a little bit of extra pain relievers, over-the-counter flu or allergy medications, right? Don't forget about children's medications if you have kids. Super important. Any of those, I'm guaranteed to have stomach issues one time a year, or I'm guaranteed to have this one time. Get yourself some NyQuil, get yourself some Pepto-Bismol, get yourself whatever it is you normally take, and make sure that you have it to get through the upcoming cold and flu season. Pet supplies, because I'll never forget the pets. Why do people always act surprised? SNAP doesn't cover pet food. There you go. Shelves clear when paychecks stop. They just do. So the best way to do it is to prep 1 month extra of kibble, canned food, litter, or store them in sealed cans or something like that, containers. You don't want to leave them open. And yeah, you can, if you have it, you can store a couple months worth, but dog food and cat food, dry food, goes rancid. So you don't want to stock up any more than 6 months. You really don't. It goes rancid. It has natural oils in it. save yourself from having to throw it out or making the animals sick. Cleaning and hygiene, just because the government shut down doesn't mean you're allowed to stink, okay? SNAP and WIC don't cover these, which means, again, they're going to be spending what cash they have or what cash you have on these items. When money is tight, demand shifts here. So you want to prep dish soap, detergent, toothpaste, feminine products, any of those things that you use. And again, don't stack it for 12 months. Stack it for a couple, okay, just to get you through the tough times. Best case is always to pick something multi-purpose. You do not have to have smelly beads for your laundry, okay? But if you have baking soda, vinegar, bleach, you're good. You can clean a lot of stuff with those 3 things. You don't need 14 products to clean everything. Those right there, they do amazing things. Do not mix them all together. And then, some kind of laundry detergent, make your own. Fels naphtha, shred that, great thing. Next, we're going to cover cash, cooking, and comfort. Why? Because they start with C. Yes, they do. Why? Okay, the banks stay open. Bonus. But ATMs can empty out when people panic. You want to keep small bills, 5s, 10s, 20s, okay, in a fireproof box. Hide them someplace where you know that they're going to be. Don't hide them from yourself. Try a cash-only weekend to see what you'd need. Kind of an experiment to see, oh gosh, I don't have the cash for that. Now I can't get it. Walking around without your debit cards or your credit cards for a little bit could show you exactly how much you've gotten used to using them without even thinking about it. Cooking alternatives. Families shift to cheaper fuel sources when budgets are tight. So demand spikes, just like with everything else, right? Propane, butane, Instafire, charcoal, firewood. Yeah. Always have at least one non-electric cooking option available to you. You can do a fondue pot to heat up soup. It's beautiful. Now, comfort and mental health, because that's important. They are just doing their thing in Washington, and the rest of us are just kind of, well, I've said it before, we are just casualties, to their chaos. And so we need to figure out how to handle the stress and our mental health and make sure that we have some kind of comfort going on. So when the shutdown stress weighs on families, comfort items matter. I'm not talking about, an entire shipping container of them. I'm talking just a few things. So pre-stock your tea, your hot cocoa, your baking mixes, keep puzzles and games and books handy, hobbies that don't require a television, that kind of thing. Unplug, use less electricity. There you go. Make a comfort bin just for morale boosters. I've got my knitting, I've got my reading. Phil's got the things that he tinkers with. There's, you can always do stuff without turning on the power to save a little electricity and to keep you kind of grounded. Here's the bottom line to this. I know these shutdown headlines are starting to feel like white noise, because they really are. I did it. I caught myself doing it, which is why I thought that it was a really good idea to make this video. We've heard them so often that it's easy to tune them out, to think it's just political back and forth, like always, in Washington, that doesn't really touch our homes. But it does, and it can, and it has. History has proved it. Since 2016, we've had 4 funding gaps. We went through them. 2 full shutdowns. One of them lasted over a month. Families missed paycheck, SNAP benefits, WIC benefits. They worried about feeding their kids, and the grocery shelves were stripped bare. These aren't just headlines. People are not just headlines, and they're not just collateral damage. And we have to stop accepting that and start preparing for the fact that that's how they think of us. They ripple straight into our kitchens and our homes, our wallets, and our peace of mind. We can't do that anymore. We can't allow them to do that anymore. So that's why it's so important to get aware of it, to not get desensitized to it, Preparing now means you don't have to panic later. Leave that to somebody else. There'll always be somebody else who is going to do it for you. A stocked pantry, a few household backups, and some cash tucked away, let you ride out uncertainty while everyone else is scrambling. And that's where we want to be sitting. I want us all to be sitting here going, we're good. I'm fine. And watching the chaos unfold, because it always does. I'd love to hear from you. What's the one thing that you're going to add to your pantry, your household this week, just in case it actually does shut down in 2 weeks? Less than 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks. Share it in the comment section down below. We'll all learn from each other. Best commenters in the world. The comment section is a treasure trove. Until next time, everybody, be safe. Keep stacking it to the rafters, my friends.